Waterstones, which is kind of like the main sort of chain bookstore in the UK. I believe the American equivalent is like Barnes and Noble. So in pretty much every major city in the UK, there will be at least one Waterstones. It's slightly overpriced if you ask me, but they do have a good selection, and they also have some nice seating areas to, to kind of just sit down and sample things and maybe read a book of your own that you've brought with you. But I bought this for £10, 10 whole pounds, and I have been learning Japanese for about 2 years now, I think, just over 2 years. I went to Japan, so if you may remember a video that I did, it's probably about 18 months ago now, where I showed off some things that I brought back from my trip. I bought this book a while ago actually, but I haven't really sunk my teeth into it properly, so I thought maybe it would be a good idea to sort of have a look at it together. It's split up into weeks. I think the idea is that you can sort of do 10 pages a week. There's some like activities, some exercises, as well as just sort of the vocab, some pictures, etc. So I suppose we'll just take a look at page 8, which is the first page of content. So it says here, konnichiwa, hello. The Japanese bow is famous. The lower the bow, the more respectful. Traditionally, there would not be any contact in the form of handshakes or kisses, but this is now changing. That's true. I feel like just kind of around the world, I think the world is becoming more similar everywhere you go. Shaking hands, sometimes bowing at the same time, has become a more common form of greeting in business and social situations, especially when meeting foreigners. I mean, I will say that when I went, I don't think I saw too many people bowing other than people with work colleagues, especially those work colleagues that are slightly older. So anyway, let's have a look at these. So words to remember. So you have here is written in hiragana, which is one of the 3 alphabets that you need to learn. There's hiragana, which is this one here. There's katakana, which is mainly used for. There's been a lot of words that the Japanese has taken from English and some other languages too, and have just kind of sounded them out in the form of syllables that Japan uses. So like apart from vowels, most characters in Japanese denote 2 English characters. There's some that have 1 and some that have 3, but mainly it's 2. So for instance here, this second one here, konbanwa, is ko, ba, wa. So that was maybe not a great example of what I said, because we have this character that's second and fourth here is the character for which is, I believe, the only singular consonant sound, or what we would call a consonant sound, in the UK. This one, formal sayonara, it's interesting, they've written S-A-Y-O-H, when actually this is sa-yo-u, so where they've written this H, it's actually a U technically, but So sayonara, so you have the U is formal, just sayonara without the U is slightly more informal. And then you have arigato or arigatou gozaimasu, which is thank you very much. And obviously konnichiwa, which is hello. Hello, there isn't really one word for hello. Konnichiwa is usually used in the afternoon. So if you saw someone in the morning, you would use ohayou gozaimasu. Konbanwa is kind of, as I understand it, is quite a formal greeting. So there was a couple of times where I said konbanwa to someone and they all kind of laughed and said that's very formal. But you might just generally say konnichiwa if you're going into like a restaurant or if you're speaking to somebody that you don't know. So this one down here, it says konnichiwa, watashi no namae wa Okada desu. That's like an extremely long-winded and formal way to sort of say that sentence. You would usually say konnichiwa Okada to iimasu or just Okada desu. You won't find many Japanese people saying watashi no namae wa. That means watashi, I or my, no namae, my name, is wa Okada desu, and this is kind of something that's added at the end of sentences, generally in a formal situation. If you're speaking to potentially an elder or somebody that you haven't met before. Put into practice, so we have more here. Konbanwa, watashi no namae wa douzo yoroshiku is down here. It can mean a few things. It just kind of means like, pleased to meet you, or like, let's get on with each other, let's, that kind of thing. Douzo yoroshiku, dewa mata, or dewa mata ashita. As I say, see you soon or see you tomorrow. Ashita is the word for tomorrow. Generally, I wouldn't say that many people use dewa unless you're being formal. And this is the thing that can trip you up with Japanese, is that it's almost a different language when you're being formal. And because the culture is kind of built around formality and respect and all that kind of thing, especially, as I say, in like a work scenario, or if you're speaking to elders in your family or something like that. Yeah, you probably wouldn't say dewa matashita, you probably just say matashita, or even just mata if you're speaking to a friend, someone of a similar age. Watashi no kazoku, so kazoku is the word for family. Again, watashi no is like my, so watashi just on its own just means I. So sobo is grandmother, chichi is father, haha is mother, sofu is grandfather, musuko is son, and musume is daughter. There's a couple of different ways to say mother and father. I know for a fact if you're speaking about somebody else's family, you wouldn't say chichi, you would say otosan, and then you wouldn't say haha, you would say okasan. I think that's just a more respectful way of saying it. Again, then up here, otto and sma, and that is how you would refer to your own partner. sisters. So Anne is big sister, Imoto is younger sister, Annie is big brother, Ototo is little brother, Kyodai is just a way of saying siblings, so that's a non kind of specific way of saying siblings. Uncles and aunts, Oji and Oba. This here demonstrates one of the many ways that you can use numbers. So, when you think about how you use numbers in English, you just, you have how they are said, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And that just gets applied to all situations, whereas in Japanese, depending on what it is that you are describing, you use many different ways of saying the number. So, one that I can think of off the top of my head is if you are just counting, you may say 1, 2, 3, 4 would be ichi, ni, san, yon. So the word for 4 on its own is yon. But if you are talking about months of the year, in Japanese, you just say the sort of number of the month followed by gatsu. So the word for 1 is ichi, and January is ichigatsu. Then it's nigatsu for February. 2, it basically just means 2 month. And then March is sangatsu. And then, strangely, it's not yongatsu or yogatsu, it's shigatsu. So in some contexts, the word for 4 is said as shi and not yon, as you would just if you were counting. Another example is if you're talking about sort of things, inanimate objects, if you're buying something from a shop, the word for 5 is go, G-O, go. However, if you are talking about 5 things, generally, the rule after the first 2, so it's hitori and futari, or hitotsu and futatsu. So hitori and futari is actually people, and hitotsu and futatsu is 1 and 2, so they end with tsu, T-S-U, tsu. So you would maybe think that 5 things would be gotsu, but it's mutsu, or is it, hang on, I think it's itsutsu, and then 6 is mutsu, so 6, the word for 6 is roku, but instead of saying rokutsu, it's mutsu. So, yeah, itsutsu is 5 things, and mutsu is 6 things. So there's a lot of these kind of a lot of these small rules that you just kind of have to know, which is, it just takes time to figure it out, and you'll only really get better at learning which ones to use by doing it. So, as I said, before, family members in Japanese can have more respectful terms for someone else's family. Yes, this is exactly what I was talking about. the most difficult of the three alphabets. I believe it came from Chinese, and it's been adapted and changed over the many years that it's been used. This character often means jin when referring to people. It's a useful one to know. So yeah, Goshijin, Okusan, Otosan. So as I was saying, Otosan, Okasan, Musuko-san, Musume-san, Kodomo-san, Gokyodai. Okay, let's skip ahead to what's week 4? Okay. Ekide. So eki is station, train station mainly. De is used to say that something is happening at a certain place. You can use de and ni, and I'm still not entirely sure what the difference between the two is, but there is a difference, and I did look it up once, but I just can't remember it now. So eki, as I said, is station. This is one of the examples of a kanji character. So that is it. It's one character, and it means the whole word station, right? And this is the thing that's difficult, is that these kanji can mean several different things. And so you just kind of have to know what the pronunciation is based on where it is in the sentence. If it's on its own or if it's part of a bigger word, it can have a different sound. And you just kind of have to know, which is very, if you're trying to approach learning Japanese with a kind of logical head on, then it's not very logical. But again, it seems illogical in the rationalization of how you have learned English. So you have a kind of way that you think things should be, but actually, a Japanese person learning English might have similar complaints about English. So this is an example of what I was talking about with katakana being kind of like a way to sound out English words. So platform, platform. So home. Some sounds you might be thinking, why is it home and not form, not an F? Some sounds aren't present in Japanese, so there is no FO character. So you have to substitute with what they have, basically. And that's why sometimes that's where I think the stereotype comes of Japanese people pronouncing their R's as L, or the L's as R's, because there is no L sound in Japanese. It's that sort of place is taken up generally by an R sound, so that's where that kind of stereotype comes from, I think. I hope I'm not being insensitive by saying that. Densha is train. This character here can also mean car. So on its own, this second character here means kuruma, which is car. But here it's part of a bigger word. So it means densha, train. Chiketto, ticket. You can also say kippu, but I think that's kind of an outdated word. This little is the same size as all the other characters, then it's a tsu character. But if it's slightly smaller, as it is here, what that means is it adds an extra of the next consonant to the sound. So as you can see here, chiketto, it's got two T's. This final character only means to, just T-O, but because we have this little smiley face guy in front of it, it means that the consonant sound becomes a double. And you have to pause a little bit, so instead of saying chiketo, you say chiketto. I hope that makes sense. Katamichi, single, ofuku, return. These are actually quite handy things to be able to learn if you are going to go there, because you may have to use these if you're trying to get a ticket. Although I will say that a lot of the main stations, people spoke English. Norikae is a useful one. It means change or transfer. You'll probably hear over the tannoy, you'll hear norikae a lot because you might have a station that has 3 or 4 underground lines that run through it. So they might say, you can transfer here to this line. Let's see, useful phrases, let's see what it thinks is useful. Nagasaki ki no chiketto wa ikura desu ka? Ikura means how much, so that's quite a useful thing to be able to say. If you want to say like how much is this, if you just want to point to something and say how much is this, you'd say kore wa ikura desu ka? Kore is this, wa is like is, ikura is how much, and then desu ka, so remember I said this is used at the end in a formal way. This extra ka denotes that you are asking a question. So if you're being informal, you might just say Nagasaki no chiketto wa ikura ka? So you would just use ikura ka without the des, but if you're being a bit more formal, you would say ikura desu ka? Can I use a credit card? Kurejitu kado ga tsukaemasu ka? So kurejitu kado is obviously credit card. Ga is like a way of saying wa, like here, but it's used in different ways in sentences. Tsukaemasu ka means like can I use. Tsukae, tsukae is just use. I don't think there's any other meanings for it. Norikae shinakereba ikemasen ka? Norikae shinakereba ikemasen ka? It's a very formal way of asking that. It just means do I have to transfer? Densha wa nanji ni hassha shimasu ka? What time does the train leave? I think you could also just say like densha wa nanji ni deru ka? What time does it leave? Let's see what their culture tip says. Most large railway stations have ticket offices and automatic ticket machines that accept credit and debit cards, cash and payments via mobile and digital wallets. You can also use the Suica card, a rechargeable smart card. Departure and arrival boards display information in katakana, kanji and English. That is true, there is a lot of English signage in Japan. And if you are going to Japan, the number one thing I would suggest you get is the Suica, because you are going to be using trains and the subway, the underground, a lot. Because it's a big place, especially Tokyo is a big place, and you have to get around. So the Suica card is like you just add you through. And you can also use it on, you can use it in, I believe it's Family Mart, I think. It's either 7-Eleven or Family Mart, I can't remember which one. It might be both. And you can also use it on some vending machines as well. So it's a very handy thing to have, and you can just have it on your Apple Wallet or your Google Wallet, and it works great. So if you are planning on going to Japan, get yourself a Suica card, or just get one on your phone's wallet. So I think I'm gonna leave it there. I kind of waffled a bit, and I didn't really get through as many pages as I wanted to. But that's kind of how this channel goes, right? So I hope you've enjoyed. As I say, it's been a while. It's been nice to sit down and chat about something